Hillary Clinton responds to the FBI's reopening of her case. Hello and welcome to Justice. I'm Judge Jeanine Pirro. Thanks for being with us. We'll hear from Clinton and Donald Trump in a moment. Plus, Rudy Giuliani is here, as is Trump campaign manager Kellyanne Conway. But first, my opening statement. FBI Director Jim Comey's announcement yesterday that he would again look into Hillary Clinton's emails after he announced on July 5th the conclusion of that very investigation, saying no reasonable prosecutor would indict 11 days before one of the most hotly contested presidential elections of our time both disgraces and politicizes the FBI and is symptomatic of all that is wrong in Washington. Now, you know I support Donald Trump and I want him to win. But whether it's Hillary Clinton or anyone else, Comey's actions violate not only long-standing Justice Department policy, the directive of the person that he works under, the Attorney General, but even more important, the most fundamental rules of fairness and impartiality. 10 years ago, when I was the Republican conservative candidate for New York Attorney General, in the home stretch of a statewide campaign, the Justice Department and the FBI violated their own policy against making public statements that would affect an election and announced to the press that they were opening an investigation of me. It was mean-spirited, and of course, nothing came of it, except the adverse publicity cost me at the polls. What was done to me in 2006 was wrong, and what happened to Hillary Clinton yesterday was equally wrong. The Justice Department and the FBI's policy to not comment publicly about politically sensitive investigations within 60 days of an election exists for a very important reason. Announcements so close to elections have an impact. Now, this nation has already gone through an exhausting and traumatic campaign season. The FBI director should not now be front and center. One of the most revered agencies in our nation's history, now seen as putting its finger on the scales of justice, should not now be front and center. So why did he do it? Some say Comey didn't have a choice because he said to Congress that the investigation was over. Wrong. I read that testimony. Others suggest a mutiny at the FBI was underway because the investigation was never real. Maybe he feared local police involvement, the New York City Police Department, in the pedophile investigation on the Uber Abbott and Anthony Weiner computer might have leaked that the first investigation simply was not thoroughly investigated. Maybe he felt guilty, needing a second bite at the apple. And 11 days before an election? How is it that he sends a letter to Congress? He could simply have gotten a ranking member of the committee and that member's deputy and told him and then said, if this gets out, I'll know that you did it. But it doesn't matter now. Had Comey done his job in the first place, had he done a real investigation, had he issued one subpoena, sought one search warrant, had a grand jury been impaneled, had he and the DOJ not granted immunity to every Tom, Dick, and Harry, and Uma and everybody else who walked through his office, had they not destroyed the laptops of those without clearance to handle our nation's top secrets, we wouldn't be in this mess. Now, Hillary Clinton should have been indicted a long time ago. She and Bill's scandals have done nothing but soil this great nation's image. It's long past time for both of them to start paying for their wrongdoings. And on tonight's show, we're going to talk about how the Clintons have again brought us to the precipice of a constitutional crisis, the reality of a presidential candidate under investigation by the FBI, and what happens if she is elected and then indicted. Who can pardon her? Can she pardon herself? And if not pardoned, can she be impeached for a crime committed before she was in office? Thanks to the Clintons, here we go again. And that's my open. Tell me what you think on my Facebook page or Twitter. Hashtag Judge Jeanine. And joining me now, Donald Trump's campaign manager, Kellyanne Conway. Good evening.
Hi, you're on fire tonight.
Well, you know, this is hogwash. This is not the way it's supposed to be done. And as far as I'm concerned, there are rules. We are a nation of rules. And that's what Donald Trump is all about, a nation of rules.
Yes.
And you don't dance like this. It's not right. But what do you think of what happened?
Well, it sounds like you're upset with Jim Comey for the way he handled the investigation in the first place,
Sure.
which is a point that Donald Trump has been making for many, many months.
Right.
And yesterday, for Comey to come out, I guess he thinks there's something big. He didn't want to go down with the ship, frankly. We do hear all the different rumors, Jeanine, from people being unhappy at the FBI with the conclusion that he ultimately reached, with others saying that he set a very public standard in July, when on July 5th, he could have actually just issued a statement. We never had to see him, but he went out of his way to publicly undercut his own conclusion by saying she was careless and reckless. Then he testified before Congress and undercut his conclusion that much further. We're under oath, a place where many Clinton people will never be. Jim Comey talked about how it's not correct that she had one device, she had 13. They had smashed the devices. She did have national security information being exchanged on this private server. She didn't recognize that C meant confidential when we all know that, let alone, you don't have to be a United States Senator, First Lady, or Secretary of State to know that. We all know that. And so he undercut his own premise in a very public way. But, you know, I think the last part of your statement is the one that Americans go to focus on now before the election, which is, do we really want more of the never-ending Clinton scandalabra? Do we want to take the chance to put somebody in the Oval who then will bring us all through this continuing nightmare? We saw that when Richard Nixon was elected. But then we went through the awful nightmare of Watergate afterward, and you know what happened. But the fact is, the undecided voters right now, they've decided they don't want to vote for Hillary Clinton. There's nothing they're going to learn about her positively in the last 10 days that's going to say, you know what, I don't think she lies for a living. I do kind of like her. I do trust her. This doesn't help her among those undecided voters, many of whom are independents. Independents are twice as likely to be undecided as the average voter right now.
Right.
And they're independent. Why? Independents and moderates are not the same. Independents call themselves independents because they refuse to pledge allegiance to either party. They've declared their independence from both parties. They don't much like Washington. They hate politicians, and they hate exactly what you just described.
But those independents, aren't they already convinced that, look, she was wrong with that email thing, and nothing that Jim Comey did yesterday is going to change their minds?
No, if that were true, then her trustworthy and honesty numbers
wouldn't have gone up. And they are now what?
Oh, they're stratospheric. I mean, in some polls, they're 60, 63, 64%. Her majority of Americans don't like her, they say. They find her to be unlikable. I sympathize. But it's an even higher number among the people who say she's not honest and not trustworthy. That's about 15 points higher than the day she announced. Usually your numbers improve. So Jim Comey deciding, quote, not to prosecute her did not help her. And I would posit to you, everything he said in and around that conclusion, undercutting his own conclusion, also did not help her honesty and trustworthy numbers.
Right. And it was clear when he was under oath in Congress. I mean, he was torn to shreds.
Yes.
I was embarrassed for him as a prosecutor. I was embarrassed for him. But how should Donald Trump handle this?
The way he's handled it yesterday and today. So since this news broke, he's had 6 rallies in 5 or 6 different states. And each time he raises it, he says there's breaking news, or you may have heard they have reopened, or I guess they have a separate investigation. And he mentions Huma, he mentions Anthony Weiner, he mentions how prescient he was, In light of that, I'm going to stop you right there. It's really amazing.
You know what?
This guy's always ahead of the trend. I'm telling you right now.
I want our viewers to know what you and I are both talking about. I'm going to ask for that sound.
But then he moves on. I want to tell you, then he moves on. This is important. He spends a couple of minutes on this, and then he moves on, because our message is still what it's always been. This whole week, we've been trending up in the polls.
Okay, we have the sound. Let's listen to it.
Her number one person, Uma Abedin, is married to Anthony Weiner, who's a sleazeball and a pervert. And I'm not saying that. I mean, that's recorded history, right? I don't like Uma going home at night and telling Anthony Weiner all of these secrets, okay?
Talk about pressure.
I remember that
how
day.
How dare she say
Yes.
the guy doesn't have good judgment?
Yeah.
She's got horrible judgment. She gives her assistant, who, by the way, isn't entitled to have classified information, all right, who is living with this dirtbag pervert pedophile, alleged pedophile for those of you offended, and he has access to that, and then she says, I have the judgment. Are you kidding?
Well, I remember that day explicitly, and I remember having conversations with other senior staff members and Mr. Trump where he raises this. He's always ahead of the curve.
This is 3 months ago.
He's the guy who put immigration and trade on the map when others wouldn't talk about it. He's the guy, he says things, and then people see they come true. But I wanted to say something. He's not pushing this too far. And the reason is people will make up their own minds. They know who Hillary Clinton is. They see her team on total defense today and yesterday. And what did Clinton and her team do today? They do what they always do. They shot the messenger. They did a hit job from stem to stern on Jim Comey today. It's his fault. And I'll tell you, when it's the FBI, not the RNC, not the Trump campaign doing this, when they don't have the vast right-wing conspiracy or the Republicans to blame, they're completely out of sorts because now they have to attack someone who's supposed to be independent and nonpartisan as a partisan hack. The other thing I want to say is if you listen to Trump's message, it's very clear. He's still talking about renegotiating bad trade deals, creating 25 million jobs over 10 years, and he's very much on Obamacare. He's quoting the specific premium increases that are going to affect you in your state. These are winning messages. You see the ABC News Washington Post poll?
2 points, 12?
12 minus 12, now it's 2. I predict it'll continue to trend our way.
Quick question before we go. It is the end of the campaign, 10 days. Do you expect them to dump something big on you?
Oh, sure. They'll
You're
try.
Ready. I can see it. You're ready.
They'll try to do that again. Well, we're never surprised, but you're dealing with Donald Trump, and we're accustomed to it. I think what yesterday proved is we're the ones with the thick skin and the broad shoulders. We're very used to having everything dumped on us, and there he is still standing. People have counted this guy out from day one. Don't bet against Donald Trump. He's going to win.
Kellyanne Conway, thanks so much for being with us. We know how busy you are. And Rudy Giuliani about to join us. But first, let's hear from both candidates on the trail today as they each reacted to news about that investigation.
It is pretty strange. It's pretty strange to put something like that out, such little information, right before an election. In fact, it's not just strange. It's unprecedented, and it is deeply troubling. And so we've called on Director Comey to explain everything right away, put it all out on the table.
Hillary has nobody to blame but herself for her mounting legal troubles. Her criminal action was willful, deliberate, intentional, and purposeful.
Joining me now with reaction, former New York City mayor and former 2008 Republican presidential candidate Rudy Giuliani. Good evening, Rudy Giuliani. To get you here on a Saturday night. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All right, let's hit it. Surprised?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Jim was an assistant U.S. attorney who worked for me for 3 years. I trained him. I've great confidence in him. I think you work with him. You know what a straight arrow is. I was shocked back in July when he
both of us shocked, blown away.
I mean, in fact, I was actually shocked that he laid out almost a prosecutorial memo.
He laid out a prima facie case.
Absolutely. And then he came to the conclusion that he shouldn't come to, the Justice Department should, that she shouldn't be indicted. That's not his job to make that decision. So I was shocked at that.
So he makes this ridiculous decision. But did you hear what I said in the open? No subpoenas, no search warrant, no grand jury impaneled.
Well,
immunity.
It does underscore our complaint about his decision originally.
Exactly.
Which is, you didn't do an investigation.
Exactly.
Never presented it to it. Certainly, those facts warrant presenting it to a grand jury. At a minimum.
Yes.
At a minimum.
So why now? What's cooking now?
I don't know. I'm not the fly on the wall. I mean, I'll tell you, it's a very bad strategy that the Clintons are following, which is to challenge him. I mean, I always tell my clients when I'm on the other side, the prosecutor's got all the power. Don't say to him, put out all the evidence.
But here's the thing. Loretta Lynch, you know, that lovely woman who met with Bill Clinton on the tarmac. Huh?
I think she took the Fifth Amendment the other day over the ransom.
She took the Fifth Amendment over the $1.7 million ransom deal. Oh, my God, with Iran.
Taking the Fifth Amendment.
I know. Enough with this Attorney General. But anyway, I just wish I had the whole hour to talk to you. So Loretta Lynch says, look, Comey, we don't want you to go out there and reopen the case, or at least announce that you're reopening it, because we're within this much time.
I thought Loretta Lynch was recused from this case.
Yeah, you and I both. Yeah, clearly, but
by meeting with Bill Clinton in what had to have been. I mean, I know what happened, and you know what happened. They met together. Loretta Lynch told Clinton was probably annoyed, wanted it over with.
Yes.
She said, "Don't worry, it'll be over with in a week."
Yeah.
In a week, over the weekend, they interview her. 2 days later, the report's written.
Yeah.
That report had to have been written 2 weeks before.
Not only that, within a week of that, Hillary Clinton comes out and says, "If I'm elected, Loretta Lynch will be my attorney general." If this isn't corruption per se, it doesn't exist. But let's talk about the fact that Loretta Lynch supposedly recused herself, obviously never did, but now she's upset with Comey. Clearly, she and Sarah, whatever Yates or whatever this other person's name is, Sally Yates. Comey can't get a grand jury without Loretta Lynch, so Comey ain't going anywhere.
Well, this thing will still be open after the election. And I would think, no matter what, a special prosecutor should look. You want the fair result?
Yes.
A special prosecutor should be appointed, and a special prosecutor, non-Republican, non-Democrat, should redo this whole investigation.
Well, you know Obama's not going to do that, and you know Loretta Lynch isn't going to do that.
And Obama should be required to promise that he's not going to pardon any of these Clinton Incorporated. I think it's a racketeering enterprise, frankly.
You and I said that 2 years ago. It's an organized criminal enterprise. It's not a 501(c)(3).
This is I mean, I have a whole bunch of statutes they violated.
You and I do.
But this is a racketeering. This fits the RICO statute.
Yeah.
Clinton Inc. I think it was one of the WikiLeaks that said this is Clinton Inc.
Yes.
All the different parts of it. He gives the speeches. They put the money in the pocket. She does the favors for the governments. It all links. Why did they destroy 33,000 emails? Because it shows the link.
Yes, it shows. Why did she set up the server in the first place? Because she had something to hide. This is what they do. It's like the mob used to get the phones you could throw out.
Well, yeah, and then they destroy the evidence like the mob.
Of course.
Including banging
with a hammer and bleach pit and all that other lunacy. But most interesting is, do we know if they gave them complete immunity? Like Uma Abedin. Let's talk about Uma and her
I haven't seen her name in the immunity list. Now, I don't know. She might have gotten immunity. She might not have gotten immunity.
Cheryl Mills, did she get immunity?
She got partial immunity. I'm not sure I know what that means.
Did you know that Cheryl Mills, who did that charity work for the foundation where there's a wall between the State Department and the foundation, one of the Korean companies that invested in Haiti gave money to the foundation and gave money to one of Cheryl Mills' companies?
The foundation.
So everybody around them was making their pigs at the trough.
When they say things like, we did good work in these countries, the money in those countries was going to their donors.
So sad.
Like Haiti, for example. Some of the money went to one of Hillary's brothers. I mean, so this isn't like the Red Cross. I mean, it's
horrible stuff.
You donate to the Clinton Foundation, you get your favors, and then you get your contracts at the other end. You get your money back.
Well, look at this guy, the Nigerian, Shaugari, who gave them $5 million, $10 million to the initiative and to the foundation.
He made a fortune.
Yeah, he made a fortune, and he's got the land deals in Nigeria. Boko Haram, who's supposed to be the arm of, the muscle men in Nigeria, Hillary Clinton doesn't announce them as a terrorist group.
If this was an Italian name, they'd have been prosecuted.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Okay, let me quickly. What is the next step? Do you think Comey says anything in the next 10 days? I think
they're challenging Comey to now explain to us what was so serious about all this.
Do you think he says anything?
I think so.
I think not.
I think he's gonna stick it right in their face. They shouldn't be wishing for this.
Okay.
Comey didn't do this because there's nothing. One thing he is not is unintelligent.
Oh, he is a smart man.
So
that we know.
Whatever caused this is something very serious.
Mayor Giuliani. America's mayor, thanks for being with us. And we're just getting started. CPAC chairman Matt Schlapp, Democratic strategist Marianne Marsh are on the panel tonight ready to beat it out. But first, Jim Kallstrom, former assistant director of the FBI, is on deck, and he's fired up about Jim Comey and how it's going to affect the case. Justice rolls on. Stay with us. Welcome back to Justice. My next guest knows the FBI inside and out, and is here to react to the latest. Former Assistant Director of the FBI and my friend, James Kallstrom. All right, Jim, your take on what Comey did yesterday. I worked with him. He was an AUSA when you were in the Bureau.
He was a young USA.
We all worked.
Yeah, I know Jim, and I recommend him to be the U.S. Attorney to Judge Pataki.
Really?
Yeah. I always had a high opinion of him, but You know, he just hasn't had the intestinal fortitude to fight the politicians, the rabid, politicians in Washington.
But you know what, Jim? He came in, and everybody referenced the fact that, when Ashford was sick, he ran to the hospital and all that crazy stuff, that he had this fortitude.
Yeah, there wasn't that much heroism in that.
Really?
When you look at the details of it. But, I feel a little bit bad for him because, he built this broth, and he put these ingredients in it, which, in my view, was not an FBI investigation. Since when do you have a major investigation when, as Rudy said, no grand jury?
Oh, it's crazy.
No subpoenas, no warrants. I mean, it's crazy.
Yep.
And what they left on the table, the top secret documents they found. People go for life in prison at Leavenworth for disclosing one top secret document. She had multiple ones. Code word documents. It's as sensitive as you can get.
But Jim, you know what? We don't even need anyone to count them for us. The woman didn't have anything other than that personal server.
But what I'm
so
saying
what was she talking
about? What I'm
about?
saying is they already had and left on the table top secret documents, obstruction of justice, destruction of evidence, conspiracy, perjury. I mean,
so why did he buckle?
He buckled because I think the House, in particular, and the Congress has ripped shit, excuse my French, with him. And he feels, I guess, I'm trying to figure out why he did it, but he thinks he had some necessity to tell them, but he certainly could have told them in private.
Yeah.
He could have gone up to the head of the Judiciary Committee in the House and the Senate and told them. So I don't know why he made this thing, and he's trying to put some ingredients in this brew we talked about.
Yeah, but we're going to not say any bad words about this brew.
Yeah.
But what about when you were in the FBI? Did you ever get a memo from the director explaining things away? I've seen a bunch of memos that he sends to his staff, which kind of suggests to me, explaining his own actions on this case, that there's a morale problem in the FBI.
Judge, there's a major, major morale problem. I mean, it's like a boiling cauldron. I mean, I don't know that because I talked to everybody down there, but I've talked to enough people, that know 10 people and know 20 people and know what's going on, and they are totally disgusted with him because of what he did, and called this thing a FBI investigation when it was really a sham investigation.
Right.
And with this deputy director who has zero common sense. I mean, he went with his wife.
McCabe, whose wife was running for state senate, and they get money from Terry McAuliffe.
Terry McAuliffe, who I understand, I don't know this for a fact, but I understand was under some kind of investigation by the FBI.
Right.
So you go to a meeting and then $650,000 ends up in your wife's political account. Well, I wonder where all that money is today. Was it all spent? Where was that money?
Do you think that Comey is going to do something now?
I think there's something happening. I mean, people are asking me, what is this about? I think something big is going to happen. I don't know what it is.
In the next 10 days.
It's just my gut feeling.
In the next 10 days.
Yeah, I think so.
So he wouldn't have come out unless he knew it was coming out.
Well, I think he couldn't hold on to it any longer.
Right.
Okay? Because who knows? I mean, maybe the locals would have stepped in on this thing.
New York City would have done it. That's my take.
Who knows? And then he'd really be in the doghouse.
He'd be embarrassed big time. I think he had to do it.
Yeah.
All right, Jim Kallstrom, always good to have you on the show.
But it's not the FBI agents, Judge.
I
It's
agree
him
with you.
and his hierarchy. The FBI agents are good people.
Agreed. All right, they're ready to duke it out. Matt Schlapp, Marianne Marr standing by. Political panel in a moment away. And guess who we'll be talking about? Developing tonight, less than 2 weeks until Election Day, and a major announcement from the FBI has rocked this race. So, could the FBI's new review of Hillary Clinton email investigation deliver Donald Trump the presidency? Let's ask my all-star panel, CPAC Chairman and Republican strategist Matt Schlapp, and Democratic strategist and principal Dewey Square, Marianne Marsh. All right. Marianne, I'll start with you. Quick, does it deliver it to Donald Trump?
No, I think all of this and everything else is already factored into everybody's vote right now. And when you look at all the early voting that's going on, that's already exceeded every record we've seen, I think that's good news for Hillary Clinton, no matter what James Comey did on Friday.
Okay, so you think that the early voting is benefits Hillary Clinton, that all the enthusiasm that has, brought out this historic early voting is because of Hillary. And what do you say, Matt?
Well, first of all, let me just say on the polls, there's about 5% of people who are still undecided. And there's about another 4 or 5% that go with Donald Trump. And then when they hear or see something they don't like about him, they kind of drift away. And we're at this standpoint where they're coming back to him again. When they come back to him, and if they're undecided in this race at this point, Judge, you know you've run for office. If you're undecided this late in the race, do you go for the incumbent or the challenger? And who's the challenger in this case? It's Donald Trump. So he has a very good chance to get these undecided voters. This race was tightening before Friday's announcement. My Lord, what's going to happen Tuesday or Wednesday when we get the polls after this announcement's taking place?
Well, that's why I said, I said to Kellyanne Conway, that I said, is there a big dump coming? I mean, WikiLeaks, they keep dropping stuff left and right. And Marianne, I mean, are you guys going to dump something on Donald? I mean, you've got 10 days. It's like a lifetime in this race.
Let me push back on one thing Matt said. Donald Trump's problem is he still hasn't brought all the Republicans back. He's still at least 9-10 points short on that. So he hasn't brought all the Republicans back, number one.
He's at 85?
Number two, I would say I expect a surprise every day for the next 10 days. I don't know what it is. No one would have predicted Friday, but I think somebody's got something on somebody every day for the next 10 days.
Okay, and but let's kind of stay with this Jim Comey thing. Do you think, and there's everybody feels a different way, that Comey is going to be forced to say something?
I do. I mean, I think James Comey decided back in July when he couldn't indict her in a court of law and he didn't have the evidence to do it, that he decided to indict her in the court of public opinion. And we've seen that every step of the way up through Friday. And that's really shameful. He's broken every single policy, procedure, and rule associated with this investigation and elections and everything else we've seen because he decided to do that press availability back in July. And he's dug himself a hole deeper and deeper every day.
I have to take issue with that, Marianne, because the Attorney General left it up to James Comey. And because she messed up on the tarmac meeting with Bill Clinton. So she said she was going to leave it in his hands. And what he did was he came out and did what the Attorney General, his boss, asked him to do. And by the way, he just laid out what the facts were. No one is saying that, she didn't have all those classified emails.
And Judge,
he did more than that.
And Judge, where was the grand jury? Right? He decided to not. I don't think he was ever serious. You're the lawyer.
No,
here.
Loretta Lynch was never serious.
Exactly.
She wouldn't allow him to get to. And by the way, for all my viewers, I don't care what you're hearing on other shows. Only Loretta Lynch can impanel a grand jury. Jim Comey can't. Now go ahead, Matt.
Now wait a minute. That's wrong to say they didn't have enough for a grand jury.
They did.
They decided politically. And Jim Comey either got a phone call or saw the smoke signals. And I've worked in a White House before, and he did what he thought his bosses wanted him to do. And now Jim Comey is looking at the scenario of all these WikiLeaks, all this smelly stuff, including the $500,000 check that was written to one of his associates at the FBI's wife who ran for the state Senate. And he realized, my Lord,
Matt.
My reputation now.
The FBI's reputation is destroyed.
Exactly
Marianne, let Marianne answer.
Here's what I think happened. I think Comey wanted to indict her. And I think everyone who worked on this went to him and said, there's not enough evidence. She didn't do anything wrong. It's a slam dunk, no indictment. And he decided that he was going to go out and all but indict her publicly. He didn't have the evidence to do it, so that's what he did. That was unprecedented. That availability he did has never been done before. Then he released the 302s. Then he's done everything else since then. And now on Friday, without any information to anybody, claims there are emails out there. So it's time for him to put up or shut up. He's dug himself in this hole.
Marianne, you're wrong about that. The guidelines don't allow him to talk about a pending investigation. Anyway, Matt and Marianne, stay right here. We're just getting started. Back with the panel, CPAC Chairman, Republican strategist Matt Schlapp, Democratic strategist Marianne Marsh. Okay, so Marianne is making the point that Comey is pretty much a Republican shill.
Yeah, his thing about this is what the Clintons are going to do next. This is what they do to everybody. They liked Comey before being a Republican because they said even a Republican who would want to go after the Democratic nominee couldn't see any wrongdoing, as Marianne has said. Now that the Republican looks to be doing something to harm the Democratic nominee, there's all these stories and all these inferences that, he's just a Republican who's trying to harm Hillary Clinton. I will tell you from someone who worked in the White House when he was picked for the Department of Justice, he was not picked because of his Republican pedigree because he didn't have it. He was picked because they thought he was an able prosecutor.
Is he a Republican?
If he is, he doesn't have many track records. You know, you have to take his word for it.
Is he Republican? Do we even know?
We don't know.
Well, Matt, I think I saw you claim on another show that he was a Democrat, so obviously you've changed that.
No, I have not changed that.
No, maybe he changed.
No, in Virginia, where he was from, there's no party registration. So you have to kind of just take his word for it.
My point in all of this is that every step of the way, James Comey, and I was critical of him about his press availability back in July, he has done everything antithetical to the procedures and guidelines, including doing this as close to the election as it is. I give you credit, Judge, tonight in your opener for saying that very thing. So that's my problem with Comey, and it has been all along.
All right, but let's talk about where we are now. Now, the Department of Justice guidelines say 17-530, disclosure of information concerning ongoing investigations, that the department shall not respond to questions about the existing of ongoing investigation or comment on evidence. 10 days. Everybody wants them to say what it is. Hillary does. The Democrats do.
Mike Pence?
Mike Pence wants him to. What should he do, Marianne?
Put it up. Put it out there. Go ahead. I mean, I can't. You're a lawyer. I'm not. Thank God. But I can't believe someone hasn't looked at these emails to go and brief him and then say he decided he had to do this. They've had to look at these things. So you know what? Put them out there. Let the voters decide.
No. This is on Uma and pedophile's computer.
That's right.
So it's pedophile having access to information that Uma had and that she should have had anyway.
Judge, the only relevance in this case was that Hillary Clinton was under investigation for mishandling classified information. So the things that should be revealed is, was there any classified emails or information exchanged on these things? That's what it is.
Uma was on the server, and Uma had an email with her husband.
Look, Marianne, I appreciate it. The straw dog is to set up here that there's no wrongdoing if there's not confidential or classified information, and that is wrong. There could be that in these emails, but what we're probably going to see is communications with Huma Abedin that breaks what she said under oath to the FBI. There are very serious questions here, and I actually don't want. Okay, but was it contrary to how she testified?
To what she told them?
Does it raise a question?
That's Matt. That's separate.
No, it's not.
If James Comey was going after Hillary Clinton on this, and they reviewed the emails, and if he's reviewing this investigation now, it's based on those matters, nothing else.
No, you don't know, Marianne. The first thing is we don't even know if James Comey's had the ability to review all this information. The fact is that they found this information, and it's going to take time to go through it.
We got to go, guys. We're out of time.
One last point. Reporters are going through all the WikiLeaks emails faster than that. You telling me the FBI can't do that? Come on.
Here's the deal.
Come on.
There is another computer that wasn't handed over. Obviously, there's a real problem here.